One of the biggest questions this offseason so far has been, what is Ben Roethlisberger's future with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, right now, Ben Roethlisberger's future with the Pittsburgh Steelers is up in thin air. We don't know if him and the Steelers are going to part ways or if he will return as a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers when the 2021 season kicks off. Now, last year in 2020, Big Ben threw for 3,803 pass yards, 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and completed 65.6% of his passes. Now, if it wasn't for Alex Smith, Ben Roethlisberger would have most likely won NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Now, the question when it comes to Big Ben's future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're essentially asking, can the Steelers still win with Ben Roethlisberger? Now, you have a good amount of people out there who believe that the Steelers should bring back Big Ben and he should take a pay cut. You have a good amount of people out there who think that the Steelers should just go ahead and move on from Ben Roethlisberger. Me personally, I wouldn't mind Big Ben coming back and returning as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers as long as he takes a pay cut. Because in this stage of his career, he needs help to win. And he has to realize that. Okay, so he is going to have to make a sacrifice. He's going to have to say, hey, man, if I still want to try to win the Super Bowl and have success at this stage of my career, I need more help around me. Now, three of the biggest needs for the Steelers are center, right tackle, and left tackle. And I made a video about this. Go ahead and check it out. My biggest team needs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There will be a card popping up for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and check that video out, which I basically went ahead and listed all of the biggest team needs that the Steelers need to address this upcoming offseason. And three of those needs were on the offensive line. Now, the Steelers' offensive line was not really good last year because of injuries and also inconsistent play. So you have a team that doesn't have a great offensive line. You also got to look at the fact that the Steelers didn't really have a great run game. Now, the people who are in opposition of Big Ben returning as a starting quarterback for the Steelers are going to say, JT, look at his last 5 games, including the wild card loss against the Cleveland Browns. He threw 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which 4 out of 8 of those interceptions came against the loss against the Cleveland Browns in the wild card round. But what a lot of people are going to say, who are going to say, okay, look at Big Ben's last 5 games. You also got to look at the amount of times that he threw the ball in those last 5 games. He threw the ball for a total of 245 times in the last 5 games that he played in for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2020, which means essentially, if you do the math, he threw the ball 49 times per game in the last 5 games that he played for the Steelers, including 68 times that he threw the ball against the Cleveland Browns. So, at this day and age of Big Ben's career, he shouldn't be throwing the ball nearly 50 times a game. You don't see Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers throwing the ball that many times at the age that they were currently playing at. So when you have an aging quarterback, you're not doing him any favors when you're basically saying, hey, man, we know that you are regressing. We know you're getting old. We know you're getting up there in age, but we need you to carry our offense. Big Ben is not in his prime anymore. When you have a quarterback that is out of his prime, that is regressing, the last thing you need to do is be like, hey, we need you to carry us. That's essentially what Mike Tomlin and the Steelers offense was asking Big Ben to do. So if you're asking a guy who is known as a risk taker to throw the ball nearly 50 times a game, you're going to have, Big Ben throw more interceptions more times than not when you're asking him to throw that many times per game. Now, for me personally, if Big Ben takes a pay cut, and the Steelers are able to free up more cap space to improve the offensive line and bring back Bud Dupree and Mike Hilton, the Steelers are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC next year if that does happen. Now, I don't want Big Ben to leave personally as a Steeler fan because, first of all, I don't like any of the quarterbacks behind Big Ben. If you're okay with Ben Roethlisberger retiring, you're essentially saying, hey, I have confidence in Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, which I don't have confidence in neither one of those guys. Now, a lot of people are really excited about Mason Rudolph because of his Week 17 performance that he had against the Cleveland Browns, which that was a Cleveland Browns team that was playing to win. They didn't rest any of their starters because they needed to win that game to clinch their spot in the playoffs. So Mason Rudolph had a really good performance against the Cleveland Browns, which I can understand why people are excited about Mason Rudolph and why people may have a little bit more trust in Mason Rudolph now than what they did before the start of the season. But I definitely don't have any confidence in Dwayne Haskins. Now, Dwayne Haskins does probably have more potential than Mason Rudolph, but I don't have any confidence in either one of those guys, because you got to think, if the Steelers had confidence in Mason Rudolph, I promise you Ben Roethlisberger probably would have got benched against the Cleveland Browns. He probably would have got benched beforehand, okay? So if the Steelers had so much confidence in Mason Rudolph, he probably would have came in and Big Ben would have been on the bench during that wild card round loss against the Cleveland Browns, because there's no way you could have kept Big Ben in with the way that he performed. Also, he probably got benched against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't think the Steelers have all that confidence in Mason Rudolph. I think the Steelers pretty much view Mason Rudolph as a good backup option in terms of Big Ben getting injured or something was to happen to Big Ben. He could come in and he could win the Steelers a couple of games. Now, Dwayne Haskins, we don't really know, because when I saw from Washington, he wasn't all that great. So it's to be decided when it comes to Dwayne Haskins. I want to see what he does throughout camp, and I want to see him battle out with Mason Rudolph and whoever the Steelers also bring in that quarterback room. But as of right now, the Steelers don't really have any better options at the quarterback position. Even if Big Ben was to return, okay, you don't have a high draft pick. You're picking late in the first round. So you're not going to be in a spot to get a guy like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance. You're probably going to be in the spot that maybe you could get Mac Jones or pretty much Kyle Trask. So for the Steelers, there really are not really a lot of great options out there in terms of where you're going to be picking at in the upcoming NFL draft when it comes to getting a quarterback. So finding a franchise quarterback in the NFL draft this year is pretty much out of the question. Okay, so now you're going to have to check the free agency market. What's out there in the free agency market? Well, you do have Andy Dalton, you have Ryan Fitzpatrick out there, which I think are pretty serviceable starters. But are those guys really an upgrade from Big Ben? Because I still would prefer Ben Roethlisberger, even at his declining state, over Ryan Fitzpatrick and Andy Dalton. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's like magic. He fizzles out after a couple of games. And Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton. He's average, but he's not going to win you any big games. Big Ben can still win you a couple of big games, even with the state that he's in the state of decline. So for Big Ben, he's going to have to approach this. He's going to have to say, hey, man, if I want to win, I need to take a pay cut. I need more talent around me to win, which is what Tom Brady did last offseason. Remember when Tom Brady left New England? He left New England because New England wasn't going to give him the necessary weapons that he needed to be successful. He said, hey, man, I need more help to win, which is why he went to Tampa with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Rock Gronkowski with that great defense that they had. For Big Ben, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're going to have to be able to say, hey, man, I either retire and I don't play again, or I come back and I play, but I take a pay cut and help the Steelers put a good team around me so I can increase my chances of winning a championship and going out on top. So for Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to have to make a choice, because no success comes without sacrifices. Now, I love Big Ben. He's one of my favorite Pittsburgh Steelers players of all time, but I don't want him coming back making $40 million a year, which is the current debacle that general manager Kevin Colbert is in right now. Okay? Because the Steelers have no problem forcing guys to retire. They've done it before. You saw what happened to Troy Polamalu. All right, so the Steelers have no problem forcing guys to retire. But if Ben Roethlisberger wants to win, he needs to take a pay cut. Okay, I still believe that the Steelers can win with Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is declining to the point he's like Drew Brees. He can't throw the ball more than 20 yards downfield. Because if you go back and you watch that matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, when Randy Fichtner, the former OC for Pittsburgh, actually realized that there was more to calling plays than just 5-yard drag routes and 5-yard slant routes, he was actually throwing the ball down the field. Ben Roethlisberger showed everybody that he has more than enough arm strength to get the job done. Now, he may not have the arm strength that he possessed when he first came into the NFL, when he was in his prime, but he still has more than enough arm strength to get the job done. But for Pittsburgh, if you're able to give Big Ben a run game, you're able to improve the offensive line, and you're not asking Big Ben to throw the ball essentially 50 times a game, then Ben Roethlisberger can come in and you can have success with Big Ben. I don't think Big Ben is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL at this stage of his career. I think he's in the middle of the pack. You can still win if you give him a good team around him. So me personally, I still think the Steelers can win with Ben Roethlisberger. I would like to see the Steelers bring back Ben Roethlisberger, but let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.